Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben, and in this episode of the Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue Podcast, we're talking to a man who recently won his first Grand Championship award and is still high. On a high. Hey family, I hope you're well wherever you are and you got that thin blue smoke rolling. In today's episode of the show, we've got Shay Adams, a pitmaster from the competition team Smoky Days Barbecue and the owner, founder and pit builder at Stockyard Smokers. But before we get into that, I've just got a few announcements that I do need to run by you. The first is that our podcast partner program is now well underway. We've partnered up with a couple of businesses so far. We've had a couple of runs and we're able to now show you some case study information of the results from the podcast partner program. So in case study number 1, we had a business partner with us for 5 episodes. We got a total number of views and listens of just over 51,000, and we had a total reach of just over 170,000. And in the second batch, we had a total number of views and listens of 82,500 and a total reach of just under 250,000. So that's pretty impressive. So if you've got a barbecue brand out there, a barbecue business, and you're looking to get your brand, your image, your logo, your information out in front of a whole bunch of people, that's a great way to start there. Now, if you are just at the beginning of your barbecue journey, make sure you head on over to SmokingHotConfessions.com and check out the Beginner's Guide to Real Barbecue. That's a free ebook that we have available for you, and it was recently awarded at the National Barbecue and Grilling Association's Annual Excellence Awards over in the US. So that's an award-winning ebook. It's got everything you need to know to get up and started in the world of this delicious, low and slow smoky barbecue. And good morning to everybody who is joining us today for this live podcast recording in the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community. I can see we've got a bunch of people there already. We've got about a dozen people in under a minute, which is good. They've come along to join us. Fantastic stuff. They obviously want to hear what Shay has to say today. And if you would like to come along and join us, that's over on Facebook, the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community. It's the nicest little corner of the internet, a great place to hang out. And as I said, that's where we record these podcasts live. So if you'd like to be a part of the show, you can do that. And if you've got any questions or comments for anybody, you can pop them into the comments below the live feed and I'll be able to bring them on the screen just like this. Good morning, William. How are you? Thanks for being a part of the show today. And here's someone telling me to hurry up and stop talking and just bring Shay on, which is fair enough. That's fair enough. Okay, now if you're watching this later on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a subscribe, and hit that little notification bell. If you're watching on Facebook, it's all about the likes, the comments, and the shares, particularly the shares. They're especially helpful. And if you're watching on IGTV, it's the cute little love hearts and the followers and all that sort of stuff. And last but not least, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or another podcasting app and you're able to give us some 5-star ratings and reviews, they are super helpful. In the last 30 days, we have been as high as number 6 on the US podcast charts for food and number 3 in Australia for food. So that's really cool. And what you do there really helps us out. All right, now, Shay from Smoky Days Barbecue and Stockyard Smokers. Now, he and his lads recently won their first ever Grand Championship at the Smokefest barbecue competition right here on the Gold Coast. Now, that's really interesting. It's been the first competition here on the Gold Coast in a couple of years, so it's great to see all the smoke returning to the Gold Coast. I did head down for a couple of hours on each day, check it out. It was a great festival. I loved it, and I know that there are thousands on thousands of people who were there that loved it as well. So we're going to have a great time talking to him all about that. And he also builds pits with Stockyard Smokers. That's his own personal brand. And we're going to talk about all the different sort of Texas-inspired offsets that he gets into there. And if that's not enough, so he's a Grand Champion winning pit master. He builds all his own pits, designs and builds all his own pits. And he also makes all his own rubs and sauces too. So he's going to have a ton of stuff to talk to us about today. And I think that is about all you need out of me. So let's get Shay in here.
This is the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue Podcast with your host, Ben Arnott. How long's it been since your last confession?
G'day, Shay. How are you, buddy? Welcome to the confessional.
Morning, Ben. How are you, mate?
Mate, I am great. It's a Sunday morning. I'm usually asleep at this time, but hey, what better reason to be awake than talking about barbecue?
Absolutely.
So, mate, what was the last thing that you barbecued?
Would have been last weekend. What did we do? Practicing for the Brisbane comp. We did some cheeks, beef cheeks, I think it was. Yeah.
Nice. And is that your favourite thing to barbecue?
No. Favorite thing to barbecue would probably be brisket. Favorite thing to eat barbecue would have to be our chicken.
Oh, okay. That's interesting that
I don't do.
that there's a disparity between what your favourite thing is to cook and what your favourite thing is to eat. So, why do you like cooking brisket?
Oh, it's the challenge. They all cook differently every time. And I think it's just the flavour that we get in the chicken at the moment. It's really, really good.
Oh, so good. Now, I've only done beef cheeks a couple of times. Tell me about how you went and did did those beef cheeks.
Okay, so we use all our own rubs and sauces, which one of the guys in our team, Shane, makes all our sauces and rubs. So he was a big part of how we were practicing our beef cheeks last weekend. So I let him play with what he was doing there, and then we put on the pick and tried a few things for shape. And it's mostly a flavour and a glaze profile we're looking for.
Yeah, that's always a bit tricky to get, isn't it? You got to get that sheen and that, but not make the skin too soggy and all that sort of stuff. It's quite tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so then how did you serve them up? Did you shred them? Did you pop them on top of some baked vegetables? How did you go about it?
We put them on a plate and we all hooked in to get the flavour and started discussing what we're going to do, if we need to change, or how we're going to approach Brisbane. So it wasn't really a meal as such, it was just a plate of meat that we hooked into.
That's a meal. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
So good, mate. So good. All right, so let's go back to the start then. How did you get into barbecue?
Okay. So I guess starting as probably anyone did, I started with gas burners. Loved steaks. Always cooked steaks. As soon as I had my first barbecue, it was gas grilled. I got into low and slow through talking to a local barbecue shop, and I said, "Oh, mate, I've got a gasser." Offsets weren't really in shops yet. It was a kettle or lots of gas burners, and he goes, "Oh, you can get this smoking tube." So it's just not really in shops. You stuff it full of chips and you put it in the side there. And I gave that a go one time, and I didn't like it. I thought, oh, nah. So I went to the Weber kettle and fell in love with that charcoal wood flavour. Yeah, loved it. And then eventually got into offsets. But that's how I got into barbecue. Teaming up with the other two boys in our team, Shane and Russ. That came across my wife, Russ and Shane all worked together. And my wife's worked there for close to 16, 17 years with those boys.
Wow.
Yeah, so one of their really good friends and one of the directors of the business suddenly passed away. And I didn't know Russ and Shane at this time. And we all went away for the funeral and the wake, and we all caught up after, and we were all staying in this place, and we were talking barbecue. And I'm like, "You barbecue?" Like, "Yeah, you barbecue?" Yeah, I love barbecue. And we all started talking. And that's how we kind of got together. We just had this common ground, and we started cooking that very next weekend on a kettle. And then we went to, there was a barbecue and craft beer festival at the Regatta Hotel a few years ago. And there was teams, like there was Basty Boys, Ham Dunk, Empire Smoke, to name a few. And we paid an X amount to drink beer and try competition barbecue. So we did, and we thought, this is great, this is fantastic. And we thought, we should have a go at this. And the other boys were like, "Yeah, all right, let's go." So then we jumped online, tried to find the next comp, and the next one coming up was Port Mac, the last Port Mac. And we're like, let's go. So mind you, that last Pork Mac was the 14th September, and that is my wedding anniversary. So we had to talk Kel into wanting to go, and she jumped straight on. So we spent that wedding anniversary down at Port Mac.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know a guy who he just got married, and they did their honeymoon in Port Mac so he could go to the competition. So it's always great when you see the whole family get on board. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And man, how good was that Port Mac competition? I miss Port Mac so much.
We did one, and we wanted to do every single one from there, but that happened to be the last one. So we're a bit gutted about that. It's great competition, great concept. That amount of teams in one space is what it's all about. That was unreal.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, great introduction to competition barbecue as well. Absolutely cracking stuff. Okay, so I understand that you recently had a little bit of you did yourself a bit of an oopsie. Tell us about that.
Oh, I did. Oh. So one Saturday afternoon, I've got a friend of mine's a commercial fisherman, and he gave me these fresh scallops, and they were frozen. And he told me, he goes, put them in some cold water and let them defrost. They'll open up. Blah, blah. They went out the window, and I pulled these things out, and I started trying to cut into them. And I slipped, and it's gone straight through me index finger. So it's at first I didn't feel anything. I just saw a little bit of blood coming out, and I said to Kel, I just cut myself. She goes, oh, well, don't bleed all over the table, put it over the sink. I went, okay, no worries. So I walked over to the sink, and then I couldn't bend that finger. And that's when I kind of knew I'd done something that pretty bad. And it was confirmed I'd cut both tendons in the index finger.
Jeez, both tendons.
Both tendons, yeah. So you got one that goes to your knuckle, and then the one goes up to your other tip of your finger. Yeah, both of them gone.
Wow. And so what was involved with repairing that? Was it a wait for it to heal, or was it a surgery fix? What happened there?
Yeah, surgical. I went straight to hospital, and within a couple of days, because it's not really a high priority when you think about surgeries at hospitals, but I eventually went in, and they'd cut in there, and they said I was very lucky. The tendon actually only come down to just above the below the finger there. Sometimes they say you might have to cut you up into halfway down your arm to get that tendon back. So I was very lucky.
Wow.
Just at the bottom of the finger.
Wow. Okay. And so what sort of impact did that have on your barbecue then? Did you suddenly become ambidextrous with meat trimming knives, or did you have to take a little while off?
I was in a cast for 6 weeks. So that next weekend after I did that, there was Kandari. So I went to Kandari with the two boys, and I was extremely lucky that I did not have to trim any meat at that competition. I couldn't do it. I just physically, you couldn't do it. But I ran the pit, was fine with that. I can do that with one hand. And then, it was still, I think by the next comp, I think I still had it on there actually. Because it was on there for 6 weeks, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's only really coming good now. So I've only just started getting back into building pits again, and confident enough that I'm not going to hurt myself again. So, she's all right now.
Oh, good. And does your wife now make you wear the fast food style chainmail gloves when you're cutting food now?
Yeah, she said that. She goes, I'll get you one of those chain mesh hand things. And I'll tell you what, after that injury, I was like, yeah, I'm a fan. Give me one of them. But I haven't got one yet.
Yeah. When I was a bit younger, I used to work at Hungry Jack's, and they used to make you put on one of those chainmail gloves when you were pushing the tomatoes through the slicer. And so me being the incredibly talented person that I am, I didn't cut myself, but still through the chainmail glove, I managed to crush a finger in the tomato slicing press.
Right.
Still managed to bleed all over the kitchen. So, mate, would it be fair to say that is one of the biggest challenges that you've had, or has there been some other things that have sort of struck you along the way?
In regards to barbecue, yeah, that'd probably be the only setback when it comes to barbecue and competing and doing what I do now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. So it's been somewhat smooth other than that, though.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Nice. Now, we all have some pretty horrific disaster stories when it comes to cooking barbecue and first getting started. What is a disaster story that you'd be comfortable sharing with us?
I'm an open book. I tell lots of people this story. I went down to the local butcher a few years ago now, and I said, "You got any brisket?" He goes, "Yeah, I do." I said, "All right, can I bring it out? Give us a look." He brings out this brisket, and he held it up, and it was probably, good at forearm length. And I said, "Oh, cool. How much is that?" And he goes, $29. I said, "Awesome. But great. Okay, cool." And he goes, "But I've got a rolled brisket there that's, $8 or something." I said, "All right, this is my first one. I might just try this rolled brisket." So yeah, put it in the kettle. And I'm going, teeing the wife up, going, "This is going to be great. This is brisket, darling, And I thought it was cooked, being the first introduction into And I pulled it off and I pulled it inside and couldn't cut it. I'm trying to cut this thing and I'm going, all right, now I got through there and we put it on the plate and I started to eat and I couldn't eat it. And I got a cattle dog and I said, he eats anything, and he does eat anything. And I threw it out there for him, and even he did not eat it. So that was a real setback and a real confidence blow.
Yeah, that sounds quite similar to myself. My first brisket was a rolled brisket, and I was watching the YouTube videos. I went, well, they're not rolled, so I unrolled it, and and then I put that in the Weber and I cooked that. No, that was a Pro Q. I cooked that in a Pro Q unrolled, and it was edible. We ate it, we loved it, but there was so much fat. It was just this tiny little strip of meat, and then all this fat. And my wife and I just started gobbling it up because it was so delicious. And then in the middle of the night, we both woke up with stomach cramps and took turns in the bathroom, and I had to call in sick to work the next day.
Yeah.
Mate,
yeah,
so no. So at was it $29 for that brisket? Was that per kilo or was that the whole brisket?
Whole thing. Yeah, it must have been around $4 a kilo or something.
Yeah. Crikey. Those were the days.
Yeah. I'll never forget it because now it's closer to $29 a kilo.
Yeah, I went to a butcher there just a few weeks ago to try and pick one up, and the total price for a whole brisket sort of started at around $180. I didn't even bother looking at the per kilo price. I just looked at the overall price and went, whoop, okay, sausages for us again this week.
Yeah.
All right, so whenever you get a bunch of guys together and there's a fire and a couple of beers and some barbecues coming, something funny always happens. Can you share like a funny story from your barbecue days?
God. I probably can't. We had such a good time every time we do cook. We've kind of been able to tone it back a little bit. So I haven't really got anything that's outrageous that would be worth sharing. But yeah, all the competition guys know how everything goes at competition, and you can have some pretty wild nights at competition. And yeah, I tend to kind of lay back on the beers on the bump-in day these days because I got to get up crack of dawn to start the pit, and it's always not very nice when you're a little bit under weather.
Yeah, I'm not too proud to say that on two separate occasions when I was competing, I was the morning after trying to trim my meats and stuff and dry heaving as I was just looking at the food. That was a bad way to start a competition.
Got a project you'd like to work on with the SHC team? Shoot Ben an email on ben@smokinghotconfessions.com and let's have a conversation.
Alrighty, Shay. Now let's talk Smokefest, mate. Now that was, first of all, congratulations. That was a huge achievement. Your first ever grand champion prize, mate. Describe that feeling of when you heard your name get called out.
We were all sitting there, and we had I think everything was called in the top 10, and we were sitting there, but we've had a few top 10s before, and it would still be like mid-packing or towards the back there. And we thought we had a good chance here. We might get RGC here because there's a few other teams there that were up and around the top of the tier there. And when it got called, elation. It was I don't know. It was it's not a surprise, but we were ecstatic, and I was a bit numb. I was like, wow. It took a little while to take it in, and we ran up there, and it was really, really good. We were stoked.
Yeah, it must have been, man. Must have been just amazing. So, give us a rundown on your placings in the different categories. How'd you go across the board?
Okay, so I think we got first place chicken, second place pork, second place beef, and 8th place lamb, I think it was. Yeah, and 8th place or 4th place emu on the day. Yeah. So it was a pretty good day of cooking. It was a really consistent cook, that one.
Yeah, you must have almost known, like, once they'd finished reading out all the categories, you must have been doing the math in your head and just going, that's it, lock it in, boys, we've done it.
Well, you can do that, but we got RGC at Warwick, and we had top 10s, no call-ups, and we got RGC that day. So I guess even though you can be up there, there's so many teams that are right behind you or just in front of you that you just don't know any day. Like it can be, it's still a surprise. Yeah. I was quietly confident. We were quietly confident that we might have had it, but being the first ever that we've done, pardon me, we were still just probably keeping it quiet. And then the name was called, and we were like jumping out of our chairs and ecstatic.
Yeah, I'd imagine so, mate. It's got to be a great feeling. Now, you mentioned emu there before, and to my knowledge, Smokefest was the first competition to ever do a native Aussie protein. So my understanding was that you could choose emu, kangaroo, or crocodile. Tell us about your emu cook. Okay,
so a little bit of a long story. Russ had a bloke come out and look at his aircon, and great bloke by the name of Nathan came out to do that for him, and he saw his barbecues at the back there, and he's like, oh, I got barbecues. I love barbecue. They got chatting. Next minute, he's cooked emu tons of times. So we had a little practice cook a few weeks before the Gold Coast comp, and Nathan come along, he brought some emu, and we had crocodile, and we didn't try kangaroo. We were going to leave that alone. But the crocodile, we tried a few different ways, and it just was not coming out as good as probably what would be worth handing in. So we thought, all right, we'll just go solely with the emu because that was tasting fantastic. And Nathan, he played with that with like bush herbs and glazes, and it was really good. And I thought, you come on a comp, and he actually helped us with the emu there.
Man, that's great stuff. What sort of like natural herbs and things was he using?
He uses like a lot of bush herbs. He grows at home. He'd be the best to tell you about that one. But they were really, really strong, not pungent, but like just really strong flavored. So we didn't have that on the hand in, but we had that on there during the cook, and it kind of smoked up a little bit and burnt on there, and they came off and glazed it up, and it was really nice. I'd actually put it on the home cooked menu for sure.
Oh right, wow, that good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what does emu taste like? I had a buddy when I was at uni whose parents had got into ostriches, And so we used to eat some ostriches from time to time. But tell us about the emu. What does it actually taste like?
I'd say like if you didn't know what it was and you had it sliced up, it almost looked like a steak. Yeah, yeah, it looked like a steak, and it even probably chewed like a bit like a steak. Flavor wise, yeah, I don't know. Like it's not. It wasn't even gamey tasting. It wasn't at all.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'd liken it. Yeah. I couldn't really compare it to something, but it was right in its own.
Very cool stuff, man. Now, when it comes to Smokefest itself, it's been 2 years since we had a competition on the Gold Coast. The last would have been Burleigh Barbecue in 2019. So, mate, tell us your thoughts on Smokefest and having a competition back on the Gold Coast.
No, Smokefest was great. Not being biased because of how we went, but we didn't go to Burleigh in 19. That was our first comp on the Gold Coast, actually. I thought the boys at Sharpsburg did a great job with that comp. It was very festive. There's a lot going on for the public to see. Like to see it back there. More of it. It was done really well.
Yeah, and did you just say that that Burleigh was your first ever competition?
No. We didn't get to go to Burleigh the other year. We didn't go.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I thought Smokefest was great. There was tons of stuff to do. There was family stuff on, top location. There was a horse riding competition, a gymkhana on the field next door, so the kids could go and watch the ponies, and it was just fantastic stuff. It was beautiful.
I think the live music stuff is great at competitions. It just creates that festival feel, and the vendors is great. And the food, the smoke is going all day. It's a bit of a spectacle, and it's a lot to take in, and it's great.
It is, yeah. I'm really looking forward to next year. I think it's going to be great. But now tell us about the lead up to Smokefest. What sort of or any competition really? What do you guys do to prepare for a competition?
So usually we'll catch up a few weeks out if we're trying to nail down something. We'll catch up and we will discuss what we're going to do, and we'll do a cook, and then we'll do a couple of flavor profiles, and we'll go with that one, or it might need this, might need that. But I tell you what, we don't really need to add too much to what Shane does with those rub and sauces. He's a wizard with that stuff. I swear, if he didn't run a business and wasn't so busy, he'd have a good chance of having a really good rub and sauce business, that's for sure.
Is he off camera and threatening you right now to say those things? If you need help, blink twice.
Nah, he's not. No.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So do you guys all get together and do practice cooks in like a competition environment? Do you say, right, we're going to start at this time, finish at this time, we're going to have these proteins done at the same time? Or do you tend to sort of break it down and do one protein at a time and practice that, and then the next weekend you'll practice something else?
Oh, well, we've kind of got a lot of our proteins down pat in a way that we know what we're doing. It just might be if there's something like be thrown in, like, so Brisbane's got beef cheeks. We don't do a lot of beef cheeks at competition, so we'll catch up and we'll practice that and nut out a way that we're going to do that at competition. We don't say, right, we don't document during practice cooks times and stuff, because as you know, a lot of meat cooks differently in different situations. So we do have a log that we do at competition, so we know what's happened in the past, and moving forward we can look back at previous cooks and
Oh, super handy. Yeah, like a little Pitmasters logbook type thing. I've seen a couple of them floating around. They look great. So winning a GC usually opens a lot of doors for people. What sort of opportunities have you come across since winning that? Now, I realize that was just 2 weeks ago, but what's popped up for you and what's coming up in the future?
Winning GC, I guess you saw a lot of likes pop up on Smoky Days, social media, and even Stockyard stuff was starting to get a lot more likes and hype about it. Because I haven't. So when Smoky Days wins something, I'll then share that with Stockyard, and then it just creates that bit of a buzz. And without advertising since January, with my finger, because I just wasn't able to take on orders and to fulfill those orders, I was just getting this steady run of inquiries after that GC. And even before the GC, just being a competing pitmaster in competition has actually enticed a lot of people to come to Stockyard. And I've actually had a few comments thrown at me saying, we've come to you because you do compete, you do use them, etc. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's good to know. So I guess I'm just going to have to keep competing to sell.
Mate, that's a rough life. If you got to keep competing so you can keep building pits, that's a rough cycle to be caught in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about Stockyard Smokers now. Then you've just mentioned then that things are now picking up, but let's go backwards. Tell us how Stockyard Smokers formed. How did you get into that?
So I started. I had a couple of friends. So after Port Mac, before Port Mac, our first competition, I already had a trailer pit in the works. So I started to build in the front yard with a stick welder, and I built that, and then I built one for myself, and they weren't nothing to look at. They were, but they worked really well. They flow. One thing that has been said to us at competition so many times is they said, "Is your smoker on?" Yeah, mate. Yeah, it is. They said you cannot see a thing coming out of that flue at all. And I had a few mates want one, and I built two fairly large ones, the two blokes, and I still had a couple other people say, "Yeah, I'll have one." I'm like, "Rightio, well, I'm going to brand these. Like, if people are going to want these, I'm going to actually put a bit of effort into these, and I'm going to, make them that someone will want to buy." So I had to get rid of the stick welder process because it was a long process and it doesn't come out as neat. And I started investing heavily in gear I already had, but then upgrading gear. Started building them, and it just picked up from there.
Yeah, sounds good, mate. Sounds fantastic stuff. Now, you said that you upgraded the stick welder. What did you upgrade to?
275 MIG welder.
Ah, MIG, nice.
Yeah. So I looked at 3-phase, and it was just extremely expensive. And for my workshop and what I'm currently doing, didn't really warrant the 3-phase. Yeah.
My understanding is that with 3-phase, you've actually got to then have like your shed rewired or something for special plugs for that, don't you?
Yeah. So I had an electrician come out and have a look, and then you have to get it from the main grid power pole at the front to your house, and that's X amount. And then you got to run it from your house to your shed. Now, I'm on just a bit of an acre, and my shed's down the back. So I wasn't going to run, 150, 200 meters of 3-phase power down there. So I just wasn't feasible.
No, not at all. That would be quite expensive. Now, tell us about the different types of smokers that you build, the different sort of things that you like to construct.
Predominantly offsets. I get the 20 inches are a really popular model. Like, that's people come to me for 20s all the time. I get inquiries for larger. I'm currently building a 30. I'm finishing a 20 at the moment. And then after each build, I'll just take a few photos with the customer, get some promotional shots for social media. And it just seemed to be this run of 20s. Like, they just kept coming. And then I was just... So until I build bigger ones, I can't advertise bigger ones. But I've got in the works at the moment, I've redesigned a couple of things with a 30. And I only recently just got the parts back from Laser, and it looks really impressive. And I'm just playing with a few ideas you'll see in the future But with the bigger pits, I'm a fan. Well, I don't use dampeners on pits at all. I build them into smaller pits, but I don't use the flue dampener. I don't use the firebox dampener. They are fully open, and I just use timber to run these things. And you get to learn. Your pit by only using them, and you get to learn really quickly if you're feeding too much timber in or whatnot. So with this 30, I've got my logo cut in the side of the firebox, no dampener, and the door. And it's basically all designed for the right airflow. And it's got a flue dampener, but it's designed to not be used. It's basically just fully open, feed the timber in there, and she'll run perfectly for you.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. I was going to ask about what makes Stockyard Smokers unique, but that would certainly that would do it. Having the having no dampeners. I've never seen a smoker without dampeners before.
Yeah, I'll have a dampener on the flue, but I'm not a fan of dampening down the firebox. Your fire needs to breathe, as you know. Like for fire to burn clean, it needs to breathe. So if you're dampening that down, you're going to get that to choke a little bit. And that'll just flow through your smoker. So I'm a fan of leaving it fully open and just feeding timber, let it go.
Yeah, control the size of the fire to control the temperature. I dig it. So when it comes time to pack up and leave competitions, though, you don't sort of like you're unable to just choke it down. You just got to let it burn out.
Oh well, by the end of the competition. So if you think about what we're cooking at that time. A lot of our stuff is done well before the last hand in. So beef would be resting for a minimum of 2 hours already. And then we might just have burnt ends that are going, but we're letting that thing kind of burn down. At competition, it's a competition pit. I do dampeners on so you can close it down. But everything I cook on, whether it be a charcoal Weber, a GA, an offset, I let them burn out after a cook, just so it doesn't basically choke it down, create creosote through the whole thing, and I just let it burn out, keep burning clean, and when she's out, she's out. But yeah,
that's a
you're
good
right.
Point.
Competition, you got to try.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, at competition, you're right, but you can't have a flare and fire and hook up and go. You do have to choke that down to turn it out. Yeah.
That's a good point. I hadn't actually thought about the fact that choking the fire out at the end is what's probably causing a lot of the creosote. But that's a good point. I'm going to have to reevaluate how I shut down my barbecues now.
Yeah, that's just what I found, mate. Yeah, it can build up as soon as you choke it down. It's just basically burning dirty, choking that fire right down.
Yeah. Now you said that the 20-inch is proving to be your most popular. So is that mostly going to backyarders?
Yeah, it is, mate. Yeah, so I get a lot of people. They've already cooked with offsets. They've had numerous cheaper offsets, and then they've come to me and said, I want an offset. What sizes do you do? I give them a range, and then I think they settle on 20. Because they're a fairly big unit for a backyard. The 20 still would have to be around 1,600 long overall, and it can get quite big in a back of a patio. So yeah, a lot of the backyard guys, they want the 20. Yeah, I had one inquiry for a sear grill on a 20. I said, okay. If you want one, I'll do one. And as soon as I posted that, I just nearly every 20 I've done has had a sear grill at the top. Just everyone wants one.
I did see the little video that you made of that first one where you lifted up the lid and there was a little catch attached to the smokestack. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. So the other thing that I noticed when I was checking out your socials is that your interstate orders seem to be picking up. Okay, first of all, congratulations, that's awesome. And what's the furthest away that you've sent a Stockyard smoker so far?
probably Canberra. Canberra, Newcastle. I've had inquiries in Townsville, but freight seemed to have been a bit scary on that one. Last year, I was posting a lot on American pit builder pages and just getting a feel for what the guys in the States like and seeing what they thought of my stuff. And I was getting a lot of love out of the US, and I actually had an inquiry from Albuquerque. Bloke emailed me and goes, "I want one of yours here. How much to get it here?" And I was so humbled. I was like, "Oh my God, like you can probably go to any industrial estate anywhere in Texas and you'll get a really good pit built for yourself." So I was humbled by the fact that he wanted a stockyard. But at the same time, it was a container job for a 20. It just probably wasn't feasible.
How much was that to pop one in a container? Was that like $10,000 freight, I'd imagine?
It wasn't that dear, but I had a freight forwarder get through to me, and it would have been around $1,200, I think, US to get it there. And I don't know, like you talk about it, would I pay that, or would I go to the local builder down the road that builds very quality pits? So, and I actually had an inquiry from the Netherlands as well, actually.
The Netherlands?
Yeah. Through Instagram, yeah. There's a barbecue business over there, and they're like, "Oh, I really like your stuff. How much to get one to the Netherlands?" And I said, "Oh, I don't even want to contemplate the price." And we had a bit of a laugh together, and he's like, "Nah, it's all good. I just really like what you do. If it's ever feasible, I'll get one." So it was humbling. It's actually, that's the biggest compliment as anyone in business, is if you can produce something that someone's willing to pay for. That's a success. If I sold one, that's a success to me.
You're listening to the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions podcast with massive barbecue nerd Ben Arnott.
Alrighty, Shay, we're now in segment 3, and this is the part of the show where our guests share some wisdom for the viewers and the listeners, and also answer some questions. So if you're watching this live in our Facebook group and you're joining us today watching this episode with Shay, make sure you start popping those questions into the comments now, and in a couple of minutes I'll put them all together and we'll start putting them to Shay. But in the meantime, mate, you are a steel fabricator by trade, so you wanted to share some steel fabrication tips with us, which is fantastic. I've never had that on the show before.
Yeah, sure. So I left school and got into boiler making apprenticeship straight after school. And that just led me through a lot of different industries in engineering. So when it came to building pits, I had a lot of steel experience in regards to how to manipulate steel and build something that was actually nice to look at. So whether it be how to blend stuff back, finishing steel, correcting doors, correcting anything on there, I had the know-how without too much fuss. And some of the ways that I've got a process where I've actually stopped the spring in the door when cutting open cylinders, and it's helped me. It's helped me not spend hours trying to correct that, because I've had times where I went through, cut a door, and she'd come out that bad. I had to take it off to take it to work, drive a forklift over it, a bit of timber underneath it to try and bend it round, and yeah, it come good. And yeah, I thought, geez, that was a lot of effort to get that back round. But I've since come up with a way that it doesn't spring too bad at all. I found the biggest challenge with steel is if you heat one side, with steel, it'll start to creep back around the side you're heating, so it expands and then shrinks. If you're cutting a door or any part, basically a door, with a lot of heat, you're going to find it will spring, and you got to use heat to get it back in.
Yeah, and I wouldn't imagine that too many people would have a forklift they could get a hold of to try and get that back in again.
No, I had to take it to work. And the boss was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I just got to push this door back in." So I said, "Can you jump on the fork? I'll put this timber here." And yeah, we drove over a couple of times.
Well, that would certainly keep things interesting at work there. So you mentioned before about blending stuff back. What does that mean?
Oh, okay. So in engineering, if you're dealing with stuff that's aesthetically got to look pleasing, and it's so you stop starts with your welding. So if you're welding into welds as opposed to stop and then start right there again, it creates a bit of a mound, and you got to blend that back, or you back step your welding, control your heat, blend your stop starts. If you get stuff like porosity, I'm not too sure if you're aware of the term, but it's basically, it looks like an aero bar in your weld. That's just, you've lost gas. It's no good. I hate it because I've been trained to not do that. But if I get anything like that, I take the time to grind that back out, weld it right, blend it back. So it just looks aesthetically pleasing. And so other guys in my can walk by and they can look at it and go, nice, I like that. Because there's nothing worse than having colleagues in the same trade and going, are you a Boilermaker?
Yeah. I just came across that term porosity just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually. And like an aero bar is exactly the description that the person gave to me when they were explaining it. What are some of the potential outcomes of not grinding an aero bar weld out and redoing it? So if you just did it and just left it, what would be some of the potential things that could go wrong there?
Oh, so with a pit, it's probably not that big of a deal because it's not structural. But something that's structurally engineered, that weld would fail. You'd fail every day of the week. You'd have to grind it out. It could crack, and it's not nice, and can get you in lots and lots of trouble in regards to a business that's putting that kind of stuff out there.
Yeah, right. So I gather then if you were building something like a trailer, then that would be a big no-no for a smoker trailer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, crikey. Okay, now when it comes to tools, what sort of recommended tools do you tell people they should use?
So building pits as such?
For steel fabrication stuff, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. So depending on what you're doing, like 15 amp power for a welder is probably a start. If you can get that in your shed at home, that's a good start, because a lot of good tools, without going three-phase, you can get in 15 amp power. And then when it comes to hand tools, hammers, your best friend is a boilie, but also a ruler, chalk. Yeah, I got to say, like, my day-to-day, I've got lots of tools, but my day-to-day stuff would have to be a square, a ruler, chalk and a hammer, I suppose, and a little level. Yeah.
Mate, that's kind of funny to hear that, like, with all the technology that we have available these days, that your best friends are still your ruler and your hammer.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it'd have to be.
That's beautiful. Anyway. It's real artisan stuff. It's real, traditional. It's good to see.
Yeah, I love blacksmith stuff. I don't do it, but I mean, if I had the time and I wasn't building pits, I would probably play around with the blacksmith stuff, because I just love that stuff.
Yeah. And mate, when it comes to steel grades, tell us about what you prefer to use with Stockyard Smokers in terms of steel grade.
Steel grade? Oh, so 250 grade steel. 250 grade is your standard. Going to 350 is just a hardened steel that's not necessarily needed for pits at all. But I do buy lengths of pipe that's 1/4 inch steel, and yeah, that's where I start with Stockyard. Yeah, can go heavier if people want heavier. Like, I mean, I just came across a bit of line pipe through a civil site, and that's close to 10 mil wall. And yeah, that ain't going to be a pit on a stand. That'll be trailer pits. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, speaking of trailer pits, we just had a question come through here, but I'll pop it up on the screen. But you might want to reach out to this guy in a direct message. William has just put up here, how much would it cost to make a smoker trailer? I need one cheap. Now, I realise that that's probably a conversation best had in private. But what sort of work goes into building a trailer smoker that people like William who would want a trailer smoker? What sort of considerations do they need to have there when they are planning what they want before they approach a builder?
So generally, I like to know what they want out of one. So is it going to be a pit only with wood storage? Or is it going to be a pit with sinks, taps, hot water systems, and gas burners at the front, etc. So these can be as simple as a pit on a trailer to a full-blown, commercial kitchen. So I like to start to hear where they're at and what they want out of one, because a lot of people, they come to me with, I want this, and this. And I said, no problem. This is the price. And they go, okay, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want that. So I like to know where they're at and what they want out of one. And then I do help them decide and get to a point where they're happy with that, and they'll get that best version of that. And yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's some good advice there. A lot of people sort of, tick all the boxes and then go, ooh.
Yeah. Wow, that's 30 grand. Oh, no, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, the little weekend hobby project suddenly gets a lot more real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Alrighty, look, that's probably a good place for us to start wrapping up the show. So I'm going to throw the microphone over to you now. You can give some shout-outs, give some thanks to people who have helped you out along the way, and make sure you tell everybody where they can track you down on the internet.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, I'd like to thank probably Kel, my wife. She's been super supportive with pit building and doing barbecue competition, because as you can expect, the time it takes to do these things does take away from a lot of quality time. So her patience is really appreciated. And the rest of the team, Shane and Russ, could not have done any barbecue competitions. They've actually helped me design pits as well in a way. And I bounce ideas off them, because like them, they use smokers as well. And they come to me with like little things, little designs, and little things they might want out of an offset. So those two boys have been big parts of my barbecue journey through competition. There's lots of people who have helped us along the way. Like you talk about a lot of the other barbecue competition teams. Giving advice at competitions, having chats, having beers and discussing things without giving away too much. They give you little handy hints along the way. And we've actually passed that on to newbies that come across, who come over to say hello. And it's just a really good environment. But one of the first briskets I'd done, I had it in an offset, and it stalled. And the late Andrew Evans, he was running a barbecue school there in Brisbane at the Hamilton Hotel, and I actually had his number, and I called him one day and I said, "Oh, mate, what am I doing with this brisket?" Blah, blah. And he's like, "No, you just do this, you just do that." And he saved the day for me that day. And I was forever grateful, and it actually helped me progress in brisket cooking. So I have to thank him, God bless him. And yeah, probably family and friends who come along and try our stuff and support me through barbecue and pit building and share and this and that. It's all been very helpful, and I probably can't, the list is very long. But pretty much anyone and everyone who I come across in barbecue and who have helped me along the way. Big shout out to them.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Some and very wise to start by thanking the wife too. You'd be surprised how many people sort of just remember right at the end, or have to remind them. So, look, man, tell us where we can all track you down on the internet.
Okay, so Smoky Days is on Instagram and Facebook, and also Stockyard Smokers on Instagram and Facebook. And if you want to get in touch in regards to building pits, you can contact us on info@stockyardsmokers.com.au.
Great stuff, mate. Well, look, thanks very much for taking time out of your Sunday to come talk to me, and best of luck at the Brisbane Barbecue Festival in a couple of weeks.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me, mate.
And there you have it, family. That was Shay from Stockyard Smokers and Smoky Days Barbecue. So how good is that? The guy designs and builds all his own pits, takes them to comp, uses them, wins grand championship prizes. I was trawling his social medias last night as I was preparing for this interview, and there's a great video he's got up there. It's a great idea. He's lined up all the trophies that he's won off that particular smoker that he's built, and the entire front shelf of the smoker is just covered in trophies. It's absolutely just incredible to see. And from what I could gather from reading his socials, that one that they have won all those trophies on, that was the original smoker that he built right at the very start. So that is just some great stuff there. And we are getting a lot of comments coming through here. So much info, great podcast, thanks. So there's a lot of people getting a lot out of what we've done here this morning. So big thanks again to Shay for that. Now, before I let you go, just to give you a quick reminder, we do have our podcast partner program now up and running. So if you've got a barbecue business that you're looking to launch and really get out there in front of a whole lot of people, shoot me an email, ben@smokinghotconfessions.com, and let's have a little chat about that. If you're at the opposite end, if you're at the start of your barbecue journey, head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com. That internationally awarded free ebook is available for you over there. And if you are not there yet, do come join us at the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community on Facebook, and you too could be a part of these live podcast recordings that we do. And finally, if you are watching it later on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, listening in on a podcast app, please do all the social media stuff. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. All those things help trip the algorithms, drive us up, and put our show further out there amongst the rest of the people. And that is just about all we have for today. So until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.
Thanks for listening to the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com for recipes, tips, and Ben's own confessions.